Hi everybody, this is lesson 4.1, and today we're going to be talking about just the major events of the Civil War. So giving you kind of an introduction of the Civil War and kind of some of the big events that happened during the Civil War, just to have a better understanding before we get into some of the specific details. Here are our three presidents during the Civil War and Reconstruction. So first we had Abraham Lincoln, who was our 16th president. And he was president from 1861 until 1865. And he was the president during the Civil War. In fact, he was assassinated just after the war came to an end. Our second president then was Andrew Johnson, 17th president. And he was president from 1865 when Lincoln was assassinated until 1869. And he was mostly Reconstruction. And then we had Grant, who was president from so he was our 18th president from 1869 until 1877, and again, Reconstruction. So Lincoln really started to get notoriety during the 1858 U.S. Senate election in Illinois. And that's because him and Stephen Douglas would go around and debate, and they became known as the Lincoln-Douglas debates. And if any of you are debaters, you would still be familiar with this debate style. It's still a very famous debate style, the Lincoln-Douglas debate. And people really began to notice Lincoln and how articulate he was. And this is what led him down the path to the presidency. So in 1861, he won the Republican presidency. And he was really kind of viewed as a moderate. He was kind of in the middle. In fact, the reason why they had Johnson run with him was because Johnson was a Southerner. And they kind of wanted to get more desirable for Lincoln. And one of the things that he was known for saying was that a house divided against itself cannot stand. And really what he's saying here is that he really wanted to try to avoid war at all costs. And really, the South, though, was very fearful that he would abolish slavery. And so because of that, that is exactly what South Carolina did. South Carolina decided to secede from the nation. They were the first state to do so. But after Lincoln won the presidency, 7 more states succeeded. And so the Battle of Fort Sumter was the start of the Civil War. And the Battle of Fort Sumter was actually in South Carolina. So here's it right here. It's in South Carolina, just outside of Charleston. And essentially what had happened was Fort Sumter needed supplies, and so Lincoln sent those supplies. It was a northern controlled fort in Southern Territory with this South Carolina. And as they were sent the supplies, the Confederates responded by firing. On Fort Sumter. Sorry. Whoa, let me redo that. There we go, on Fort Sumter. And so this began the Civil War. And Virginia succeeded not long after. There should be two A's in there. In April of 1861. So the Civil War began April 12th of 1861 with the firing of Fort Sumter and ended on April 9th of 1865. And the Civil War was known for a lot of hand-to-hand fighting, combat. Because it took so long to reload your bullet or reload your guns that it wasn't always feasible to do, and so it ended up with a lot of hand-to-hand fighting. The Battle of Manassas, the Bull Run, the Confederates won. What this told us, what this was going to be a long war. If you know, Manassas isn't that far from here, and it just proved to us how long the war was going to be. And Lincoln's really main focus at the beginning of the war was really just to block the southern ports so that the South couldn't get supplies or sell goods. It was called the Anaconda Plan. And during the Civil War, the Battle of Antietam was one of the more important battles. First of all, it was the bloodiest battle. And second, it was so important because this battle caused Lee, General Lee of the South, remember, to retreat back to the South. So it kind of showed the North gaining the momentum. And really the year of 1863 became the turning point. And the reason is because of the Battle of Vicksburg, which it gave the Union, or gave the North, control over the Mississippi River, which was really important for trade and getting goods up. And then the second was the Battle of Gettysburg. Because the Union won and Lee's army, or the South, was weakened. They were pretty badly defeated and really couldn't bounce back after that. And so then that led us to April of 1865, where General Lee surrendered at the Appomattox Courthouse near Lynchburg, Virginia. And that's exactly what we see happening here, is the South surrendering to the North. And finally, this is just a map of showing us which states succeeded from the Union officially. So we had our southern states were right here in the red. Those are the Confederate states. We had the border states in between, and then we had our Union states. And the territories at this point in time were definitely involved in the Civil War, but they weren't a state yet, so they didn't have any voting rights in Congress yet. And so to summarize, the Civil War proved to be a much longer war than anyone originally had anticipated at the beginning of this. And by showing that the South had a lot of investment in fighting, and it wasn't until really 1863 when the North started to really gain power and gain control over the South and eventually ending with the war in 1865 at Appomattox Courthouse.